Good afternoon all. I'm here to tell you a bit of a story. My name is Calmin Henneberry. I'm a country HSC manager from an international company. I work out in Africa, but I was not always in this position, and I'll tell you a bit of a story about how I got into the position I currently am in. I am a disabled person, as you can see. I'm a left-hand amputee, and my story started off in the year 2002. I'll never forget the day. It was the 4th of July. I was working night shift, and I was a boilermaker in the ship repair industry. And while I was working on a particular ship, I was fitting a shell plate underneath the ship, and the ship would stand on blocks within the dry dock. So in order to get the shell plate fitted, you'd have to practically get chain blocks, lift the plate up from the internal frames of the ship, and then you'd be on the outside underneath the plate. You'd align this plate using dogs and wedges and a hammer, and then when you're done, the welder would come and weld up the seam, and that's the job done. Unfortunately, while I was working on this particular plate and I was beneath the plate, a chain block snapped on the internal frames of the vessel. So when this chain block snapped, my hand was lifted above my head. It had a wedge in it, and when the chain block snapped, the plate whipped out, a 1-ton plate. So it crushed my hand in mid-air. I had gloves on. I didn't think the damage was serious at the time, and I came out from underneath the ship and I pulled the glove off. To my horrors, the glove was actually stuck into my arteries. So when I pulled the glove off, all the pressure was released from my shoulder, all the blood shot out, pieces of muscle from my hand fell on the floor. I went into shock. Fortunately, my brother was working with me. He and the guys who were working with me got a rope. They tied the top of my bicep, so the blood actually started to subside. I was rushed to hospital. I spent 6 weeks in hospital. During those 6 weeks, I had 7 operations. I always thought, being 2002, that there's modern technology that can actually save your hand, but in my case, that didn't happen. Simply because the main arteries in the palm of the hand and the wrist were all smashed and damaged beyond repairs, so they couldn't even be transplanted. I came out of hospital, one hand short, and I had to learn to live my life with one hand. I adapted my mind, the way I did things, even my thinking ability and my thinking capability. All that had to change because of this disability. When I look back and I think to myself, what could I have done differently? Based on my knowledge at the time, I don't think there's much I could have done differently, because I was not educated in health and safety processes and legislation like I am now. So I don't think much would have changed. The impact on my life, it's had an enormous impact on my life. First, psychologically, when one loses a part of a limb or part of your body, it does affect you psychologically, and you really have to be strong-minded and strong-willed to overcome a disability like this. It's not an easy thing. It was a difficult thing. It was the most painful experience I ever had in my life, because it was crushed bones. I'll never forget when I went into theatre at outpatients at Interbeni Hospital, and I put my arm on the table, and the nurses gave me 4 morphine injections to ease the pain, and that's the only time the pain actually went away. And then the next morning when I woke up, the pain was back. So crushed bones, serious pain. After my discharged from hospital. When I went back into society, I remember going to the shop one day and wearing a sweater, and I was feeling so awkward and so inadequate because something is missing from me, you know. People would look at you, so you have to, so you sort of expect those things, but it doesn't make you feel any good, because when people do look at you when you're disabled, they always look at you from a sympathetic point of view. And I mean, I don't think many people like other people to feel sorry for them all the time. So it does a lot to you from that aspect. The other challenge was the salary, the financial side, how it impacted me. I was living in a place with my family, 2 kids at the time, and I had to actually move out. I couldn't afford it. There was no money coming in. People always think that workman's compensation will pay you 500,000 Rand lump sum or 1 million Rand for losing a limb. It's not the case. The way they have structured the Department of Labor and Workmen's Compensation, if you get a debilitating injury, you really don't benefit, because all you get is a disability pension. It works on injury percentage to the body. So if it's 30% or less, you get a lump sum payout, which is usually not that much. In my case, it was a 33% injury. 33% of your body was injured or damaged. So they paid me a monthly disability pension, which was 2,300 and odd Rand. And that is really poor, because if you work out my salary when I got injured, I was earning close to 3,000 Rand take home a week. So the financial impact really destroyed me. I remember going to court with one hand, still in bandages when I came out of hospital, because of certain companies that passed judgments against me. And these are the bitter things that go with work-related injuries. If I remember correctly, workman's compensation, they took about 11 months to pay me. So I had to move out of my home and I had to go and live with my father, back in the same room where I was raised actually. The only difference is this time I went with my family, my wife, myself and my kids. So a lot of other issues come along with it. It becomes embarrassing, it becomes hurtful. And these are all the things that you have to deal with when you're going through injuries of this nature. Many people look at you and say, hey, shame, and, you know, feel sorry for you and think of the pain. But the pain is only one aspect. Losing the limb is only one aspect. There's a psychological part. There's the effect on the family. There's the effect on the extended family. There's so many things that you go through, and I wouldn't want my worst enemy to lose a limb in a work accident. It's just horrible. What would I tell others? There's so much I can tell people. To the HSC professionals out there, you are not a policeman. Make sure that you are learned. Make sure that you're always looking for information. Make sure that you're always knowledgeable about your work. You must remember, safety is like a product. It's a product that you carry, whether you like it or not. And if you carry this product around and you offend people, guess what? The people who are the workers, they're not going to like your product. So the whole culture that you're trying to instill there and then is going to go down the drain. So my advice to you and to the safety professionals, be professional, be understanding, communicate effectively, and be as knowledgeable as possible in relation to the industry where you are working. To the workers out there who are actually doing the work, you can actually educate yourself in health and safety. You can educate yourself in legislation, educate yourself in processes and procedures. All these things will help you. I was in a position when I was a boiler maker where I didn't know that I could ask companies for calibration certificates for lifting equipment. Had I just had that piece of knowledge, I don't think I'd be injured today. because when I see there's no calibration certs for the chain blocks, then I wouldn't use it. Case closed. I'd probably still have my hand. So to the workers out there, try and educate yourself to the best of your ability. You don't have to rely on a safety professional to have all the knowledge. You can gather that knowledge and information yourself. And safety is everybody's business. Work safe, have the right attitude. And I just pray that all goes well in your work, wherever you're working. And God bless. Thank you.